What's up, guys, and welcome back to part 2 of the fall. Before we start, I just wanted to say thanks to all the new subscribers, guys. Welcome to the channel. It's awesome to have you here. So just a little background. My plan is to hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and that would be an epic goal to reach. So yeah, you guys have have contributed to that. So thank you for joining. I hope you enjoy the content, and I'm gonna continually strive to bring awesome content to this channel that you guys could enjoy. Now, getting into part 2 of the video of the tutorial. So what we're doing is we're using the same project file, and we're just going to adjust some settings and add maybe a different camera, move the stuff around a bit, and then basically get the second part of this video where you've reached Earth and the ship is now going to enter the cloud cover. So yeah. So here we go. You want to select your camera here. Okay, and then we can delete all of these keyframes on the camera. We're not going to need them. Cool, we can remove the object constraint. Let's change our focal length to 23. And we want to go into our top view and just move our camera closer to our ship here. What we want to do is place the camera over the right wing, really relatively close to the wing, but not touching, and then we're going to parent it. That image we can delete because we're going to be using a different image now. So that was our space or planet image, and we want to get rid of that, so we can just delete that by pressing X. Then select our spaceship, just scale it up so we have more control over the scene when we zoom in. That's all fine. Just change our view here, and we want to move our camera just above the wing here. I think maybe the right wing is going to work best. So let's position our camera right over the right wing, just give it a quick render. And obviously there is no lights in the scene, so we're not going to see anything. So we can just close that. So we need to add some light. We have a point light here, so we can just bring that up. These are our point lights from previous scenes, so that we need to kind of scale them up and just move them around. So I'm going to move them down, and we want to remove not the parents, I think, because we still want them to move with the ship. Just select our other point lights, just move it into our scene collection so that we can adjust the position. So just drag it into, it's not moving. Let's move them up here, sorry. Just want to figure out why. Just go to parent and clear parent because they're obviously connected. And then, so you want to say clear parent but keep transform or transformation. Then move that down to underneath the ship, and then the top light, we want to keep that and make some changes, possibly to the colors and stuff, because we want the sun to be coming from top left of our ship and casting a bit of shadows so we can better see the displacements on the ship, so it looks crisp. Now go to our world settings. We're going to not under surface, we're going to go to color and add environment texture. We're going to add a HDRI, open. You can download HDRIs from Polyhaven, guys, like I've said previously. I've downloaded this one a long time ago called Skyfontaine 6D Clear 8K. Load that in, set that to 1.8 the strength. It might be a little harsh, so let's put that to 0.5. So we've got some really nice natural lighting, but I just want to rotate it and adjust the light. So we're going to go to shading, go to the rendered view, and in our node editor here, we're going to go to the world properties, select this one, and then Control T. That's the Node Wrangler add-on. You can add that. It's an add-on you can go install or add on Blender. You just go to Preferences, Add-ons, select Node Wrangler, and activate it. Just move that rotation to like 156. Give it a render. So It's doesn't look too bad. We've got some interesting lighting on the ship here. Obviously, you can see the ship looks glitchy. That's because the displacement map is a little harsh. So we can select the ship, and I tried to go shade smooth, but that didn't make a difference. So it's definitely the displacement map that is set on a really high value. We want to delete all of these keyframes here because we're gonna do some different kind of different animations to our camera. Let's just shift it a bit. Just get a nice position going. Go to your camera. The focal point we can remove there, and then the f-stop we can bring down to, let's say, we'll put on 11, and the distance to 205. Bring then your f-stop down to 2.4. What I wanted is to have the part of the ship that's closest to the camera to be a little bit out of focus, and then the tip of the ship to be in focus. But we might just pump up the f-stop at the end of the day, or remove f-stop completely. Then let's go to your object properties. Just bring the camera down a little bit more until you're happy with whatever position you want to go with. And then we're going to parent the camera to the ship as well at some point, so that it moves with the ship. Set our scene frames to start on frame 1, and then if you scrub through, obviously the ship animation is still there, but the camera needs to move with the ship, like I said. So you select your camera. Now you can add an object constraint if you want to, but you can also just parent it to the ship. So then select your ship, press P, or right click, go to parent object, and now you can delete that empty. We're not going to use that. And then if you play, it's not following, so let's do it again. Right click, parent object, play, and now our camera is following our ship. So it looks like you sitting on the wing of the ship and you flying down the atmosphere. We want to set the film here to transparent because we don't want to see the HDRI. We just want the effect of the lighting on the ship itself. So now when we render, you'll see that the background will be transparent and you'll just see the ship, because we're going to be adding a different image in of clouds from our library that we collected or saved. So yeah, we still need to fix that displacement at some point, which we will. Now we want to scale up our path here because we want it to fly a little further, or delete, and we can create a new one. We don't need that one. So for this, to be honest, you don't even honestly need a path. You can just animate the ship to move forward at the end of the day. So let's just align the ship horizontally on our grid here. Okay, so obviously the rotation animation is still applied to our ship. It's rotating and adjusting. That's from our previous animations on part 1. Just remember to resave your project as go to file, save as project, and you say part 2 or scene 2. You don't want to overwrite your previous work. Let's just move our lights here, and we need to parent that to our ship. A lot of times I just do quick renders just to check things and see what the lights are doing, because the viewport isn't always 100% accurate. Let's go back to shading, go to our camera view, just give it a moment. We want to go back to object and select our ship, and then we want to look for the displacement. So that'll be down here. Displacement scale, let's set that to 1. See, obviously now it looks really hectic. So that's obviously the problem. So we're going to set that to 0.1 0.001, and now you see we don't have that issue anymore with the texture clipping or causing extreme dents. We might play with it a little bit more. I think it can possibly go up a little bit more, but yeah, that's looking good so far. Search, let's add in here a color ramp to just adjust some of the reflections, like the metallic reflections, and just really pump up that roughness and reflectiveness parts, because what we want is we want the clouds or the image that we're going to be placing in, or the environment texture, to kind of reflect off of the surface, and we want to give this ship and the wing a lot of detail and grunge to make it look realistic. So let's just give that a quick render after adjusting the color ramp. And you can drop things in by pressing Shift A and click on search, and then you just type in color ramp. So it's we'll just keep playing with these settings. So remove that and just pump the metallic all the way up and see what that does for us here. So not much. We might have to adjust the roughness and not the actual metallic part. So we can drop that back into metallic. And then we've got our roughness map here. Just disconnect that, and you can see now that's the one that we want to adjust. You can see we've kind of lost that grid or dirty texture on our ship. So that's the one we need to be adjusting. I'm going to probably, let's see, I think I might remove this curve and just drop it straight into the roughness, and then add another color ramp. Just make sure that's connected, drop that on, and then we want to bring up the black here and bring up the white possibly. So now you can see that we've enhanced the black. The reflections are a lot more intense. So it's looking pretty cool. It's looking pretty interesting. You've got that dirty look on your ship, like it's been either worn, the paint on the ship's been worn on certain parts. Like it used to be glossy at one point, but the rest of it was weather beaten or burnt, and then that affects the roughness. So for now, I guess that's fine. We can go to our top view, set our origin point there, change back to selection. We go add. We want to just add our image, so add image as plane. Go navigate to your folder where you saved your images, resources. Like I said, I just got these all off Google, so you guys can really use your whatever one you want. You don't have to use that one. So we go to resources, and maybe we'll use that cloud background matte painting 1 or 2 for now. We'll possibly change it later on, but like we might use this one because it's closer to the HDRI. So let's just go back here and just drop in anyone. We want to scale that up to fill the camera, the frame of the camera. Okay, and we probably have to adjust the rotation of this image to be in line with our camera. So just move that back to give it enough space, because we need to animate our ship flying towards it, and if it's too close it's going to go right through and you're going to lose the effect that you're flying towards the clouds. Like I said on the previous part, make sure the images you're using are 4K or higher, so that it really holds up, because when you scale up you lose quality in your image. Let's take our camera here. Maybe we'll just rotate our camera a bit to face more towards the cockpit of the ship. Around there. Or more towards the image, like more aligned and facing straight outward. So it's a little bit better. We want to just move our image and then like we did on the previous part, we want to change our surface to emission of our image, and then go to color, say image texture, and open that same image again, because now you're going to open it as a light source, so it's going to project light into your scene. So you can see that the light, the clouds, is reflecting on the ship because we've adjusted the roughness, and so it just looks more interactive and looks like your ship is actually in that scene. So now you can see the image is a bit it's pixelating a bit because the quality isn't high res enough. But you know, this is just a tutorial, and if you guys want to do this for projects, just make sure you use really high quality images. But it's just a tutorial, so we're going to not be bothered too much about that. Okay, we probably need to start animating our ship at some point. So we probably need more distance, so let's move it back even more. And you'll see that it disappears. We need to change our view and our clip start and end. We leave the clip start as is, but change it into 1 million meters, and the same on the camera. And then, because the further away things get, the camera can't see that far, you need to adjust that setting. So we're gonna just scale up the image again, give it a quick render. I'm gonna have a sip of coffee. Looks fine. Maybe we can play with the strength to get more reflections on our ship. Maybe 5. This could be way too harsh, but yeah. It's important to play around with different settings, and yeah, that's very harsh. I don't like that. It's a little harsh for me. But yeah, so we can set that back to 1. And maybe let's change the image to closer match the HDRI. So no, that's the wrong one. So open again, resources, number 5, I think. And yeah, so now we've got this one, which is a really beautiful image. We've got some nice orange sun, coming from the top left here. That kind of matches our lighting. And I think this is what we want, and the quality of the image is a little bit better than the previous one, so we'll keep this one for now. And this is probably the one we will use at the end of the day. Cool, now just move this up here, and we should go to, we want to add a curve. We're going to add a path, and we can scale that up and then go move that path. Actually, just go to edit mode here, and then you can select that vertices or that point and just move it out by pressing G. Select the furthest one on the left, and same thing, we can extrude it out by pressing E, or move it by pressing G, and we just want to move it all the way through that image because we want to animate our ship flying towards that point. So now we have to select our ship and all of our parts of our ship. So select objects. We just want to move those things into the scene collection. So the path and the image we move into scene collection by selecting them and pressing M, and then selecting scene collection. Select your ship and say parent object, or follow path. There we go. Follow path. All the other parts are parented to the ship, so we can just select the ship itself and the main body of the ship and say parent. Now we can, if you move the evaluation time like we did in the previous one, your ship will be animated. It's going to move forwards and backwards. We want to start, just pump up the frames really high. What we want to do is set our frames to 300, and evaluation time we're going to add a keyframe on frame 1, skip to frame 250, then adjust our evaluation time so it is flying towards that image to roundabout there, and then add another keyframe. And if we skip back and give this a play, we can see what we are working with currently, or what is happening. So yeah, our ship's flying there and it's rotating. Now you can see our image is exiting or entering the edges of our image is entering the camera. So you kind of lose that effect. So we need to scale that image up. Let's select our ship and clear the keyframes of their rotations. We can adjust that ourselves manually, but you can see it's flying towards our image there. Very nice. Select our camera. Split these views, and then we can go into our graph editor, and we're going to add some camera shake. So by hovering over the viewport, pressing I, select location, drop that down, select the Z location, then open this sidebar, go to modifier, add noise modifier, and now when you play you can see our camera is shaking all over the place. So bring down the strength. We just want a little bit of camera shake, and that once again enhances the idea that this ship is moving at high velocity or speeds and your camera will be shaking. For instance, if you're in a car and you're recording with your phone and you're driving really fast, the camera's going to be shaky. So so yeah, we just need to play around with that setting a little bit. And remember, when you're going to render these things out, remember to add some motion blur on your render, so that will also enhance the realism of your render. At any point when something's moving fast or shaking, if there's motion blur activated, it's going to add to the realism. So let's give that a quick render. It's looking good. Go to our render setting and see I've got motion blur enabled. And you want that. You definitely want motion blur to be enabled. But remember, if you have motion blur enabled, it's going to add to your render times. So you can add motion blur in post in some other editing programs. So it's just really up to you. If you want to save on render times, then deactivate motion blur. But if you want realism, you're going to have to sacrifice on render times and activate motion blur. Now we want to add in our clouds. So these are just PNG cloud images we downloaded online with transparent backgrounds. And instead of using volumetrics that will also slow down your render times, we're just going to use images as our clouds. So we're going to import them and then just scale them up. And we're going to place a bunch of different clouds throughout our scene here, where our ship will fly through them. And this is going to add to the effect that the ship is going downward through the cloud cover because it's moving through the clouds. As you can see here, it's going right through the image. So we can scrub to a point here and render it and just see what that looks like. So yeah, you can see it's moving through. Okay. Let's just render another time. Just scrub through your timeline. Just render again just to see what it looks like. We might have to do some adjustments here. So you can see it's moving through, but it doesn't look quite real. It's a very sharp edge that it's moving through. So you can make this look more realistic by adding your motion blur. And when you render it again, you'll see because the cloud's moving fast, it's going to leave that edge a bit blurry, and it's going to just add to the realism. So that's looking a lot better. It looks more soft, looks more like a cloud that we're moving through, and that's what you want. So yeah, that is good. We can work with that. Alright, now let's just skip back here, go to a rendered view, and we need to add a bunch of different clouds. Just fill up our scene here, or the flight path of our ship, just like chuck a bunch of clouds in there and fill it up. Let's play with our light source a bit, maybe move it all the way up here to represent the sun. As you can see on the image, that's where the sun comes from. We're going to pump that strength up to 6,000. That's not strong enough. Let's put 600,000. So that's not working. So maybe let's add an area light. Scale that up nice and big. And then we'll scale it at the full length of the flight path and move it up to the top left of the image, rotate it facing towards the ship, and we give it a yellow tinge or yellow color, yellowish color, not full on yellow, to represent the color of the sun. And we're gonna pump that light strength way up to maybe 1 million. Let's maybe put it down and just move it closer to the ship. Now you can see there's some changes happening here. It is affecting the ship. That's what we want. Give it a quick render just to see what result we have. And this is starting to look really good. We probably getting close to the end of this tutorial. We can bring the size down a bit and adjust the angles a bit just to give a little bit more intense lighting on those reflections of the roughness map on the ship itself. And guys, keep in mind, it's important your lighting will ground your CG object into your scene. So the better your lighting is and the more realistically it matches your environment or your footage that you're comping into, it's going to look a lot more realistic. So yeah, definitely spend a lot of time there trying to figure that out. Now let's add another cloud image. I've got a bunch of different ones. So it doesn't look like we just copy and pasted and repeated. Scale this up, and we want to just change our view here and move this on the x-axis maybe a little bit forwards. Skip back, let's play that quickly, just see what we have. Gonna go through, and we could probably scale that image up even more and just move that up a bit. It's gonna go through, and yeah, so we need more cloud images. Through the first one, and the second one is looking nice, very nice. So let's add some more cloud images. Go to where you saved them, cloud 3, scale that up. Nice and big. This one can go nice and big to just fill that area nicely. Let's give it a render just to see what we are working with. Let's see, we're getting some clipping on our image. You'll see that you can see the shape of the plane, or that you don't want that, and you can change that by adjusting your light path settings. You can go to light paths under render and then just bring up the transmission or transparency from like 4 to 12 or something, or maybe 20, and that'll just improve the transparency of certain images, and you won't get that edge of, or that border edge on your image. But we're just gonna go scale that up, and it's looking really good so far. moving through cloud 1, cloud 2, cloud 3. We can scale that image up and just move it to the side a bit. Add our fourth cloud image or fifth cloud image, whatever, scale it up. I think the more clouds we have here in the scene that we fly through, the more realistic it's going to look. So we're going to skip back, just play, see what we have. 1, 2, 3. And you don't want them equally spaced because clouds aren't equally spaced. You want to add some variation into your spacing to keep it real. So you're going to go through 1, 2, and then a little bit of space, and then 3, 4, 5 in space. So yeah, adding variation is good. We can duplicate that first one by pressing Shift D, enter, and just move it forward. Add some more clouds into our image here. And this is looking epic. We can just move it around a bit to give some variation and maybe rotate it. Let's play that again. 1, 2, 3. So the idea is we're moving towards the image at the end too quickly, so that ends up getting pixelated a lot quicker. So I try to parent the image to the camera so it moves along, but it shouldn't move along exactly because then it's not going to look real. So we parented it and then selected the image and go to location X, add a keyframe on frame 1, scrub to frame 250, adjust the position, let it come closer to the camera just slightly, and add another keyframe. And then when you play, your image is going to move with your camera, but it's still moving towards your camera slowly. So you're getting that illusion that it is flying towards it, but not so fast in a sense that it's going to, your image is going to start pixelating. So yeah, it's really just about tricking the mind or tricking the eye. To be honest, filmmaking is all about tricks. It's like magic, or what magicians do, but with cameras and with film. So we just pumped up the emission of the lights on that image a bit. Let's skip back to frame 1. Go to our side view and move our lights over our ship. And what we can do is parent it to our ship, so it will move with the ship. So you'll always have that consistent lighting. Give it a render. Guys, and I don't know if I showed you in the previous one, but I did go to compositing and I clicked on use nodes, and then I added a denoise node to my image. So after it's rendered, you can see there's noise in the image, but then the denoise node gets activated and it removes the noise. So you can just literally press Shift A, say search denoise, add that node in between your render and your output node, and that'll kind of fix the whole issue if you don't want to, you know, pump up your render samples, which is going to add to your massively to your render times. I usually just keep the render on like 128 samples and then just add a denoise modifier, because I don't have a render farm or 100,000 rand or $100,000 computer or $20,000 computer or whatever to create these insane renders and stuff. I'm kind of just working off a gaming PC. Yeah, so we're getting close to the end here of our animation. The light doesn't need to be as big because it's following the camera. Just set that to 1 million strength. Let's see if what we kind of get there. So that is very harsh. That's way too strong, that lighting. So we need to we can bring that down to maybe 300,000 or maybe 100,000 and see what that looks like. And it looks pretty good. We can maybe just adjust the strength of our image, the light, maybe just set that to 1. And we'll give it a render. And it looks very nice. I think we've got a really nice result. Alright, so just go adjust some of your render settings and you can render it out. You can either render it out as an MP4, which I showed in one of my previous videos, or you can save them as individual PNG images and you can bring that into a compositing software like After Effects, and you can do some adjustments and things. You can save them as separate passes, maybe save the ship as a separate PNG sequence and then the background, or however you want to do it. So just make sure you save your scene so you don't lose any information. And then we want to add some animation to our ship because it's currently just flying straight. So skip back to frame 1. Select your ship, go to rotation on the y-axis, add a keyframe, and then scrub to frame 61 or 60 or actually 33. I'll soon make up my mind here. Sorry. 67, add some rotation. So it's coming through the clouds here. Frame 49 then maybe. So the problem is when we're rotating, the background image is rotating with. So that's a problem. So we can clear the keyframes there. And just make sure then that we moving closer to the image, but the problem is when we rotate our ship, the image is rotating and we don't want that. So we can get around that issue by probably just clearing the parent and just animating the image on its own, moving. Trying to figure this out. So clear the parent, okay. So the image is still moving towards the camera, but now it's moving really fast because obviously it's not parented to our camera. So we want to delete those keyframes. Add a new keyframe. Let's just delete all keyframes and start fresh. So skip to frame 1, add a keyframe to our image in the background, and then skip to frame 250. just set that location on X and add another keyframe. Yeah, so what you're going to do is you are going to animate your image, okay? On frame 1, you're going to set your location, add a keyframe, and skip to frame 250. Adjust your location again to -228.7, add another keyframe. And now what you want to do is make sure when you're, let's add some rotation to the body of the ship. So we're going to scrub to frame 1, and then we're going to adjust the Y rotation, add a keyframe, go to frame 42, adjust the rotation, add a keyframe, frame 40 or 90, change rotation, add a keyframe, maybe again here at 109, and then again here at 183, adjust rotation, add a keyframe, and then skip to the end. One last time, rotation, keyframe, adjustment. And then if you play that, you'll see your ship is flying and it's rotating. But make sure when your ship rotates and the camera rotates that your image is big enough not to come into view here. So make sure your image is scaled up sufficiently for that. And yeah, then that's going to be that. And then you can adjust your render settings. Let me just show you quickly what my settings look like. So I've got your cycles GPU. I'm going to render 128 samples. Adaptive noising, I set that to 0.03. My motion blur is on. My light paths I've set here to 12.448.12.0. So I've got a high value on transmission and transparency so that my clouds don't have that black border on them. And then my render output is 1920x1080, 100%. We want to render 120 frames, so start 1 and end at 250 frames, 24 frames per second, because that's a very film-like. You can adjust that if you want, but keep in mind if you pump up your frames per second at this point, it's going to increase the speed of your animation. It's going to look different. So you need to animate to your your frames per second. So keep that in mind. Always adjust your frames per second before you start animating. And then set your output folder, and then I rendered this as individual PNG sequences or images. So just selected a folder, say PNG, RGBA8, and just left the compression as is. Let's just go down here to our color management, and you can currently it's on Filmic, but you can set it to standard if you want. That's obviously gonna affect the color of your, you usually want to go for standard, and you can set the colors later on. But yeah, that's it guys, and then you're gonna just render it out and give it maybe a few hours to render, and that's it for part 2. That's the end of this tutorial series. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time guys. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends. I see that 95% of people that watch this channel or these videos aren't subscribed, and that's a little disheartening, because you know you put so much work and effort into something, and people just come and watch and then they leave, but they don't subscribe or support the channel. So yeah, I just want to thank each and every one of you that has taken the time, to subscribe. It takes 4 seconds and it's free. You just go down to that red subscribe button, click it, and turn on the bell notification if you want to be notified when I do more uploads. But yeah, it's free, and I'm not gonna like phone you every 2 days to spam you with something. I'm not like a telemarketer. It's free and it helps me out. So I just wanted to once again show my appreciation to the people that have subscribed. Thank you so much guys. You don't know what it means to me. Yeah, and just thank you for everything and the support. And I'll see you on the next video guys. Have a good one. Cheers.